Also, there's all this empowerment and stuff, and then they have the bit at the end where they say, use the first set of astronauts to do makeup and hair before they go up.
Okay. Okay, councillors. Can we 7:30, so it's time to start. So welcome to this meeting of the Finance Strategy Management Committee. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillors Buckley, Gavishak and Romans, and Councillor Lambert is substituting for Councillor Gavishak.
Thank you to Councillor Lambert for that. And item number 2, declarations of interest. No. Item 3, public participation to receive questions and comments from members of the public on any matter on the agenda. So we have a few members of the public present. If you'd like to speak, please put up your hand. Go ahead, Richard. Welcome again.
Yes, Richard Guy, New Street. I'm going to have another crack at the River Thames subcommittee. I was at the Town County community meeting last Sunday, and which let's say got a little bit of a morning there. Not all councillors were happy with it, and most were a bit disappointed. I'm slightly surprised to see it's completely unchanged. Because I thought there was actually an amendment to propose an amended list. There are no town community minutes, so I can't check that.
I can look at that.
Okay, right. Sorry, Richard, I interrupted you.
Yeah, so that's a comment. I mean, the problems were with the list. I don't suppose it's really much point in going through individually again. But
well, can we just give an explanation first for the point you've raised? And if you've got any further questions, then I'll be happy for you to come back, because I think we can clarify a few things from those you've already raised. Town Clerk, could you first of all explain that the town community minutes?
Yes, so the town community minutes, they have been drafted. They're just waiting for approval from the chair, but they are going to be circulated tomorrow. But the agenda for this meeting, because it's only a week after the town community committee, the agenda is actually issued before the town community committee meeting. So to have it on the agenda, then the paper was as presented to the town community committee, but that doesn't prevent any amendments coming to the committee for discussion, which I believe is the case.
Yes, and I could perhaps get the mayor to explain what he will be doing when it comes to the item on the agenda.
Indeed, I plan to propose an amendment adding in Remnant Parish Council, the Sea Scouts and the Air Centre to the membership of the committee.
And that was the result of the discussion, which you noted took a fair amount of time while we debated the committee. And Councillor Hinton, who did raise a number of issues, has been in discussion with the mayor, and they have agreed with those proposed amendments that will be made. So if you've got any further questions, I hope that helps clear up some of the points you've made.
it does actually help clear up some of the points. Why not Crawley and Buckinghamshire?
Sorry, why not?
Why not Crawley Parish Council, which covers the stretch from Phyllis Court down to...
Primarily because Remnant Parish Council are so affected by events that happen on the Henley Reach, such as Rewind Festival. Henley Women's Regatta is entirely held on that side. So it was felt, while there are certain times that Fawley may very well be invited to come along to the committee, as a permanent member, Remnant Parish Council have a greater interest.
Maybe not.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I just make the point that 40 bucks, that's where the sewage outfall actually occurs. So, I mean, if you want to talk about that, I thought they would be good people to have there to talk to.
As was observed at the meeting last week, people, organisations and councils and so on can attend the meeting on invitation should there be a particular item of relevance to them, and so they wouldn't be precluded from taking part.
Once again, specifically on the membership, why not Remnant Angling Society? Why not any representative from the Fishing Angling Society?
A lot of the more individual groups like that are represented through the River Users Group. In the same way, we don't have individual...
This is a very opaque group. Who is on that River Users Group?
So
I can't find it anywhere on the internet. They don't seem to have minutes or notices of meetings. A very opaque group.
I think I think you've made your point, Richard, and we'll consider that in the course of the meeting. But it may be that subsequently we'll have to try and track down the more detailed answer to your question. But I know that Councillor Hinton and the Mayor, when they had their discussions, there wasn't a convenient angling group they felt that would be suitable for addition. Anglers are a rather individual species and don't naturally form groups and committees in the same way, say that the rowers do. However, if you could come back to us with any details that you think when it comes to the item, that we should still be considering. So no point is the composition of that committee, either formally or by invitation, set in stone. It can be adjusted in the future as organisations are drawn to our attention.
That's good to know, because I'll just make a more general point. I feel that if you're going to invite organisations that are not representatives or individuals, you've got to be quite inclusive, because it is the Henley Reach. Oxfordshire is only a small part of it. If, for example, you have 5 Oxfordshire Henley Town councillors on there, and you have, which is quite feasible, Kelly Hinton representing SODC and Stephen Cowshaw representing Oxfordshire County Council, and the Mayor representing the RUG, you're going to have 8 Henley Town councillors on there.
Your point's
and this is going to interfere with the exclusiveness of representatives of the Reach as a whole.
Yeah, I take your point, and thanks for your contribution, Joe. We will take into account. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Yeah, good evening, John Grocock. I'm chair of Henley Hockey Club, and here with colleagues Phil Biggs, who's our treasurer, and Rachel Herbert, who's our president. Is to say firstly, we're very grateful that you're considering the resurfacing of the G pitch. And from our perspective, then, we're very supportive of what's being proposed, but we're obviously here in case you do have any questions or clarification you require on our part.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. That's potentially helpful. We do have an item on agenda which will involve spending a very significant sum of money potentially, and it's good to hear, of anything else, that you're in favour of the proposal as on the agenda, and that's very important. Okay. Does anyone have any questions at this point they might wish to raise? Councillor Plant.
Just obviously, also not obviously, but having gone through the agenda item yourselves, are you happy with the recommendation as in 3.2? So been through the different companies' tenders, the requirements and the specifications, and believe that would meet your requirements? Because I don't know the first thing about hockey.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, then obviously the recommendations around the initial steps, isn't there?
Yeah.
We clearly haven't seen the detail behind the responses to the tender and everything else, but I think the key thing from our point of view, and the discussion we've had in our committee, is to turn around and say, if this is to happen, the timelines are very short. We're going to need to adapt our summer plans in order to be able to fit around the work if it goes ahead.
Yep.
And we're just in the mindset of, from our perspective, we want to do anything we can do to support the proposal and to make it happen.
Perfect.
Because we feel it's fundamentally important to do it this summer if at all possible.
Oh, you've been a brilliant entity to communicate with so far, so as long as you're happy with the initial steps, then that's great.
And we're aware of the tight time frame if it is to happen this summer, and we will. I don't want to preempt the decision of the committee, of course, but should we decide to go ahead, if the time frame does prove too short, then yes, we would have to delay a year. But I suspect that no one will see that as the ideal solution.
No.
Okay, are there any more questions from public? Okay. Thanks very much for your contributions. Move on to item number 4, minutes. To approve the draft minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of January.
4th of March.
I was going to say, that feels like a long time ago. Okay, 4th of March then. Right, Councillor Plant, are you proposing? Or?
Yeah, certainly. And then I know it's not part of it, but then potentially we should move item number 9 to item number 4.5 or 5.5. So release these guys.
Yeah, that makes sense, but let's do that separately.
Yep.
So we have a proposal that we accept the minutes. Seconder? All those in favour? Right, thank you. And to note the draft notes of the 353-357 Reading Working Group from the 2nd of April, and to approve any recommendations. Councillor Bishop.
There are no recommendations in there, I don't believe, but yeah, it's all good, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're proposing that we accept. Okay, all those in favour? Right, thank you. And as Councillor Plant has suggested, given the interest from those in the public, I suggest we bring forward the item number 9 to now, so we consider the Jubilee Park AstroTurf resurfacing. So we have a proposal which has already been had a bit of discussion. Town Clerk, do you have anything to say on this report?
Yes, subsequent to this report, because it has been moving quite quickly, Becky, the estate manager, has been basically getting quotes from consultants to manage the project and basically been able to do so in the past 2 weeks. So it's been moving very quickly. We've also had another approach from another consultant who has been leading on the new clubhouse, proposed clubhouse designs as part of the 353-357 Reading Road project. He has also, subsequent to this agenda, put in a quote which we would like to consider, but obviously the committee hasn't had the option to consider it because it hasn't been in time for the agenda. I would like to suggest an amendment to the recommendation in the report that rather than appointing Company A, that the appointment is delegated to myself, but in consultation with, say, for example, the chair of the committee plus one other, for example, so that we can consider the 4th quote that we've had come in, which is also significantly cheaper than the other quotes that we've had.
I'm happy to propose the amendment as suggested by the Town Clerk.
Yes, so that would be to delegate the decision to add in the second company and to delegate the decision to the Town Clerk in conjunction with the Chair of Finance. And I suggest also Councillor Thomas, who's familiar with this area because of the 353-357 work. Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that was, complete surprise to me, but I don't want to hold up the process at all, given the tight timelines that we've got here. But yeah, that'd be acceptable.
Okay. So with that amendment, are you happy with to amend that way? Okay. Is those?
Yes, that'd be so the entirety of 3.2 as it is, but just amending the first half of 3.1.
Yeah, not from here.
As proposed by the Mayor. Councillor Plant.
I was going to second that. Given who the tenders come in from, being a consultant already working for the pavilion, it makes complete sense to still consider that one. And if it comes in to be competitive and or better, then we should go for it. I mean, if it had been a late tender from someone else, I don't see any need to look at it, but considering who it's come on from, definitely.
And if it proves not to be acceptable, then we fall back to the recommendation. That would be for the Town Clerk.
Yeah.
This is this isn't the 7-figure decision. This is the 6-figure decision. This is the decision to spend a sum of money on receiving the advice. Although we are doing the full allocating the reserve on as well.
Yes, as a recommendation to the council.
Yeah. So perhaps for those who are listening, this committee doesn't have the delegated powers to deal with those large sums. We can appoint the consultant, but we have to make a recommendation on the full sum, and that will be heard at full council in just next week. I think next week at this time.
Yeah.
So you may want to attend that as well. The Town Clerk should have a recommendation for that meeting, I would hope.
Yes, well, it'll be going through it as part of the FSM minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to this proposal? Okay. So we have a proposal which is 3.2 with the changes to add in the additional company and delegated powers to the Town Clerk to appoint and then recommend as in little 2 and little 3 to full council. All's in favour of that proposal? Right, thank you. Thank you for attending, and yeah, we look forward to a brand new pitch by the end of summer.
Scott, thank you very much.
That's good.
Okay, we return to our agenda. So item number 5, finance, to receive the management accounts, investment performance, bank reconciliation, and summary of payment. You don't have to stay. You are welcome to. Okay, so these are on page 11 to 14 of the agenda. And yes, I note that the total budget for the year-end forecast is now increased. The surplus, proposed surplus has increased slightly to 82,000 since the last meeting. And again, I'd just like to remind councillors and everyone listening that the purpose of this surplus, as we budgeted it, it is less than we budgeted, is to ensure that our reserves are rebuilt, both for to provide long-term sustainability, but in the knowledge that we have certain significant overheads which we will have to fund over the next 5 years as part of our 5-year finance plan. And that plan shows clearly the need to re-establish those reserves in order to make sure that we can carry out the essential work on, for example, the town hall. Are there any other comments or questions that councillors have? Okay, Ms. Mann.
I note in second one, insurance is high compared to the budget, and I was just wondering, do we need to be considering whether or not our budget for next year, I know it's already set, but we may want to consider if we should be adjusting that in the light of these figures getting ever higher.
Yeah, so the insurance is higher because of basically building revaluations, which have put the rebuild cost of a lot of our buildings as much higher than they were. So I couldn't tell you what the budget is for the coming year. I think it has been at least partially factored in. I could probably let you know in a couple of seconds how
the variance while you do that between the budget for this year and the year-end forecast is from 40 to 47,000. And if, as you say, that's due to revaluation, that's presumably something that won't be repeated, unless we have other buildings that also need revaluation, which will come up in the course of the year.
Yes. So the budget for the coming year is 45,000 versus 40,000 for this year. So it will likely still be a little bit under, but we're not expecting any large increases.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Can we then have a proposal that we take the investment performance as well as the management accounts and bank reconciliations and summary of payments on block for approval? Mr. Mayor, praising Councillor Plant, seconded. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Expenditure, £1,382 from Sill for a car club parking space at the marketplace. You're going to give a verbal report of this, I think, 10 o'clock.
Thank you. So as per the last couple of years, so we have a car club space at the marketplace, and the other spaces we license to nearby residents at the cost of, so the cost of the coming year is £1,382 per space. This is basically to pay ourselves for the use of that space, taking the money from Sill. So that it would be taken from Sill, but appears in our kind of lease and license income, if you like. So it's more of an accounting matter. Paper exercise.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm happy to propose.
Yeah,
Sounds straightforward, yeah.
yeah. I'm intrigued that we can absorb Sill in this way, which therefore potentially relieves us of the obligation to use Sill when it's 5 years' time. Limit starts to run into our calculations. However,
we have just had, I think, £290,000 receipt of SIL.
So we're not running out of cylinders,
So
obviously,
that's going to be quite a lot of parking spaces.
Yes, I wasn't suggesting it just for car capacity as a tactic. However, anyway,
I'd just like to mention actually that a few of us sit on planning, and whenever we have a conversion, like a new residential property in the town centre, the planners always say it's a sustainable location because there's a train station and bus routes and da 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 da. And what they should also be saying is, and there are co-wheels, there is a car club, 3 of which are placed here, there, and here, so that it's embedded in the planning for the new residents. And I've only just had that light bulb moment, and I'm going to make sure I follow it up. But I think all of us should keep repeating it to everybody that we've got co-wheels subscriptions here.
I think that's one of the advantages of making sure that this committee, the councils of this committee, are represented on each of the other committees.
Yeah.
I don't sit on plans, so I don't think I've seen. I think the co-wheels project, the car club, reports to plans, and I'm just wondering. I understand it's doing quite well, but I'd quite like to see a report. I can't remember.
We haven't seen one
discussed.
We haven't seen one for a while, have we? It's normally, is it Dave McEwen that normally provides us with those statistics?
Dave, I think, has stepped back in recent times.
Oh, okay.
The car club is very much something of his,
Yeah.
from his efforts and his. And then I get the council member speaker.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is this for an additional car?
No.
No, it's for the space which is currently being used and has been for.
Oh, I
the
see,
past
so it's just
3
a
years.
renewal of what we're currently doing?
Mm.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, the car club has, I understand, been a great success. And
Yeah.
I completely agree, Councillor Thomas, that yes, we should be publicising it so that we can sort of make sure that people understand the value for money they're getting, the additional opportunities that people are getting for transport, which doesn't, which helps reduce traffic in the town. And also, I'd very much like to see the scheme expanded. It has met its goals, and therefore we can perhaps consider having additional cars in future.
Sorry, one more. This presumably doesn't include an electric charger at this parking space.
No, I don't think so. No.
They are there's an R2 hybrid.
They're hybrids.
Is this one that's sort of permanently absorbed in the greater car park?
Yes,
where it's
yes.
plugged in?
That's the county council
Co-wheels.
co-wheels. So there are 2 schemes, one for 1 car, one for 2, and I very much hope that we can move from hybrid at some point again to something that's fully sustainable.
Dave did look, last time he did present, he was saying that the car club are looking at that in the future, but the infrastructure and the costs associated with it.
Anyway, it should be an item I think that the council consider in the future on a committee. So we have a proposal, which I don't think we've voted on yet, to as in item 6 of lay. We've digressed a little, but in a useful way. I hope all those in favour of the proposal. Secondly, Town Clerk, can you explain the 4,997 for the new entrance doors?
Yes. So the current wooden doors, or they were current, at the pavilion, which is the entrance to the nursery. Basically they are the original doors, and they stopped working. Basically, so you could no longer make sure that the building was secure. So they need to be replaced kind of as a matter of urgency, and so we're replacing upgraded to metal doors. So that has currently come out of kind of general building maintenance budget. However, because there's some upgrade of the doors, an upgrade to the asset, then we'd like to suggest that that expenditure is transferred to capital expenditure.
So for clarity, the town clerk authorised it under his powers as RFO, and therefore we're simply approving moving it around in the budget. So, Ms. Mayor.
Back to proposal.
Okay, yeah, happy to second that. Okay, all those in favour? Cool, thank you. Strategic plan review, to review the committee's project in the 2024-2029 plan. Now, each of the committees is in its current cycle has been considering our strategic plan, which was approved about a year ago. And so we can see at this point in the report which projects have been completed, which have not, and we are reviewing any changes in the plan, which will, as part of the overall review, which will then result in the plan being reissued. So do we have any comments on, starting on page 41 of the agenda?
Good progress.
Yeah.
Yes, it's. The other committees have also been noting that a significant proportion of the specific things that projects that we've identified as part of the strategic plan have been completed, which is gratifying to see. And, the officers should be congratulated.
It's really good. It's good to see that actually there's no issues, nothing behind schedule. I would suggest that we add the investment review into the strategic plan.
I believe that is indeed there, and there is a recommendation that the target date be amended on that one.
Yes.
Yes, so 3.5, the date is being amended to July 2025.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the spreadsheet. I didn't see it.
It is in the spreadsheet. It's in yellow, investment strategy, and take the reviews of investment.
It is there. The town
Oh,
clerk
yeah. Sorry,
carefully keeps it in very small print.
Yes. Yes, I find myself being a bit blind in this.
It's very large print if it's A2 size.
Yes.
Is that the size you have to have in your office to remind you that you're on target?
I would recommend if councillors were to look at it digitally, you are able to magnify it to whatever sizes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
The zoom function goes
Yeah.
really big.
Yeah. So it is there, and
That's
yes,
my mistake.
but it's worth noting that we are continuing to review our investment strategy, and in conjunction with our investment managers. A working group has
I
been.
bet they're having a nightmare at the moment. I bet they're not. I bet they're just like, do nothing,
Yeah.
do nothing.
Yes.
It will pass.
Yeah.
It's just going to take 4
Yeah.
years.
Anyone's guess is good, and yeah. But I also mentioned that Henley Town Council are probably not the biggest concern. The decisions of this committee are not the most unpredictable things that they're having to face. So there is a working group informed, and it does have a plan to meet later this month.
Mm.
So there are. So we have a recommendation here, which is includes that the following the amendments are made for the investment strategy and for the 353-357 Reading Road dates, which has also been amended, and the target date for that is now April 2026. So I'm happy to propose that we, as in 5.1 on the agenda. Second. Any other comments or discussions?
No, very clear.
Okay, all those in favour? Right, thank you, and my congratulations to the officers who've. I mean, the strategic plan is something that's new to this council. This is our first strategic plan, and it's proved a very good way of measuring progress, which can lead us to, I think, be pleased that so many of the projects have been completed successfully. Okay, item number 8, River Subcommittee. There was some discussion on this in public participation, and I think I'm going to ask the Mayor has a proposal to make, which includes some amendments from as discussed earlier.
Yes.
From the what's on the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Iceman. I propose that this committee adopts the terms of reference for the River Thames Subcommittee as written, with the amendment that in 1.1 dot 27, 28 and 29 we add Remnant Parish Council, the AX Centre and the Sea Scouts to the membership of the committee.
Chair, how are you going to fit all of these around the table?
They won't all come.
No.
That's it. That's
So
both the
you-
beauty and the negative of it. It's
So
like
as the
more
agenda is submitted, then these people are invited as per agenda items. That's how it's going to work.
So,
I
would you like to explain what
rather than invite them as per agenda items. They will all be advised, but I do not expect them all to turn up.
If they all do turn up.
Then there'll be some standing. And it'll be a very short meeting on that basis.
Okay.
At the town community meeting last week, when this was discussed, I suggested that a useful precedent to bear in mind was the town steering group, which has invitations to about 25 local councils plus about another dozen representatives. And there have been meetings in this room where very large numbers of the town steering group have met. And it's generally when there were issues and problems which needed to be addressed. Yes, they were a challenge to organise and to chair. But I think the success of the town steering group in securing its targets over the last 20 years shows that it can be done. But yes, it won't be easy. And this room could take about, I don't know, 50 or 60 people. I can't remember what the fine limit is nowadays. And we did hold meetings out in the marketplace at one point when we got about 500 to one meeting. So I'm not suggesting that that's the way forward, but I mean, one of the lessons that we've learned is that firstly, people don't always turn up if there's nothing on the agenda which directly affects them. But also we found that certain parish councils sent a representative collectively, and that may well happen here. In that a number of the organisations may just choose to share a representative for the purposes of the evening, and I don't see any, or have a representative who covers multiple of the invited groups, and that's a way forward as well. So I bear in mind. I think you're right to ask the question, and I'm not going to suggest that it'll necessarily be easy. But the fact that this committee is being formed, and the fact that people will be interested, organisations and other stakeholders will be interested in turning up, is an indication of the importance of setting up this group in order to protect our river from the damage that's being inflicted on it. And the interest that local groups have in protecting the river from being damaged. So I hope that covers your concerns.
Yeah.
And
No, I was just interested. It wasn't a concern really. It's just practicality.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right to raise the issue, and I can't pretend that it will necessarily always work easily. But I think I think as the debates that we've had both in this committee and already in town and community show that there are people who there are suggestions of additional rather than suggestions that we cut down the size of the group. And as was noted in public participation, the group is not intended to be a closed group. It's intended to be open to any representatives who have a wish to contribute in some way to the work of the committee, like by making points or carrying out work and publicising the challenges that the river faces. Now we have a proposal, I think from the mayor. I'm happy to second that. Are there any other comments or that we wish to make?
No, very good.
Okay, all those in favour of that proposal? Right, thank you.
Could I also suggest the committee appoints the councillors who are going to be on the...
Good point. So 3 Henley Town councillors.
5.
The quorum is 3.
Oh, so the quorum is 3, yeah. Sorry, 5 Henley Town councillors elected by this committee. And the local member of parliament, which isn't in our gift, but he is to be invited. So which town councillors would like to be part of this committee?
I think it's
rather
probably taken as read.
Yeah. So I propose that the mayor and as it's been decided that this committee should, the River Committee should report to this committee, I think it's sensible that the chair of this committee be part of that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to do that. Who else would like to?
What time is it going to meet?
That's a good question.
I would imagine that it would try and meet similarly to the Highlands Park working group just before another council meeting, either that or lunchtime.
No, I mean, unless I'm on it, in which case it's fine.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, we've got so many different organisations here. What's going to be the optimum time for them to, you know, not be disenfranchised by not being able to attend because of work commitments, and it's awkward, isn't it?
Well, you're right.
Setting. I mean, we can discuss it later. But I know, sorry, we're going off plan here. But until we know the time, I just don't think the working councillors can actually commit.
Yeah, I understand you. However, if we nominate councillors who are then able to sort of, suggest and work with with those who are going to call the meeting, I'm not sure who in these situations who does call the meeting, because we don't have a chair yet, or we don't appoint the chair. We only appoint the members of the committee. So, given the informal indication from the mayor that a late afternoon, early evening meeting time is going to be suggested, and it may well be that it has to, in order to enable people to be represented, the time is varied. So it might be during the day at some points, and the late afternoon, early evening at other points. So yeah, again, the nearest parallel I think is the town steering group, which has always met in the early evening, which in theory people are available for that. Whereas if you hold it during the day, then you are effectively disenfranchising those who are members but simply can't get away from work, which is true of some people. So
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
Perhaps this should go to full council so that all of the councillors can have a say in who would like to be a part of this.
yes, I think it makes sense for us to
give it the
nominate.
commitment it deserves.
Yeah, I think that's a sensible suggestion. So we can recommend that the mayor and myself are two of the five, but the other three are. I mean, if someone else is keen to stand, then I think we can include that in the recommendation.
I'm on the river a hell of a lot, so I'd like to.
Yeah, well, we can add we can do that, and then full council can then decide whether or not the recommendation to three councillors, yourself, me, and the mayor are okay, and how the additional 2 spaces are filled.
Could I suggest Councillor Hinton, given her her interests? Yeah.
Yes, I think there's a famous place quote about tenants in this context, and Councillor Hinton has lots of interest and strong views on the river, and I think would be an asset to the committee, and I think it's important that she's invited. Do you want to leave it there, or?
No, I mean, there's one more to get, isn't there? So it goes to full council, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean.
But you can always go forward and then full council can amend or otherwise, but.
Yeah, I can't take on any more commitments.
I think it'd be fair to speak to Kelly first.
Well, that's why we've got.
It's a recommendation.
We've got 3 that are interested from now, and the other 2 at full council. That's fine. We don't need to force them for any further now. That's fine.
Council can always step down from the committee they don't want to be on it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a proposal that the representatives, this is a recommendation to full council, that the mayor and myself, as chair of finance and council plant, are invited, and that are on the committee, and that Councillor Hinton is approached to be added in as well. Just putting it that way.
You wouldn't need to recommend to full council for the appointment of councillors who have already said that they would like to be part of it, because this committee can already do that. I think it was only being suggested to go to full council to open it up to any other councillors who may wish to be on the group.
I think any proposal that on the membership of the committee should be a recommendation to full council, and therefore needs to be voted through. I think so they are possibly elected by the full council.
What it says here, though.
No, just checking.
We're sort of semantics at this point. We've got 3 from this committee that are interested. We've got 2 spaces that are voted full council. The end result will be that the full council agrees, the 5 that are interested, and if there's anything further that needs to be changed, then we can change it.
It's the wish of this committee, I think, the full council decides, and I think that's the critical thing. And then the full council will decide in practice on all 5 names.
Yeah.
Does that answer your?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I would also suggest provisionally that Councillor Miller be added on the list as chair of events.
We can just do it at full council. But yes.
Yeah, I think the people mentioned should be certainly sounded out who aren't present.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that was the gist of Councillor Thomas's suggestion, which is that full council, where all councillors have the opportunity to speak and volunteer should make a decision. Okay, so we have a proposal. And second, all those in favour? Right, thank you. We've done item number 9. Item number 10. Before we stop the open session, I would just like to draw council's attention that this is, by my calculations, the final meeting of this committee in this civic year before May making, when the committee is reconstituted. And I'd just like to thank all the councillors who've been on this committee, whether as members or as substitutes, and but in particular the officers who do so much work to apart from anything else, to make my life so easy. So yes, thank you to everyone for that, and we shall return in some other form in a few weeks' time. Okay, so now moving on to item number 10, exclusion of the press and public. I'd like to consider that the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of business, and I so move. Second, all those in favour? Thank you. So thank you to the press and to members of the public for attending.
Not going to invite me to stay.